So let's start by sitting upright. The head is gently suspended from above. Body is relaxed, at ease. Let's take a few deep, long, comfortable breaths. And gradually let your breath relax down into the belly. Each in-breath should fill the entire body. Just like as if it was a balloon. Gently smile a bit with your lips, your eyes, looking at yourself with kindness, with compassion, receiving yourself with friendliness, with warmth. Regardless of the state you find yourself in right now. Gradually dropping this element of resistance, of fighting against your experiences. Opening your heart to them, relaxing with them. Breathing in, feeling your legs. Then breathing out, let your legs become soft. Gradually releasing all the unnecessary tension that you may be holding there. Notice how it's nice when you relax a little, when you let go of holding up tension. Feels a little better to let go, to release. Let that be a bit like your guide. Each time you release the tension that might be there, feels a little better. That's the principle. And by the way, releasing tension doesn't mean to collapse your posture. Releasing tension means that you're melting into the shape of the posture. You're giving up your fighting against it, the resistance. And breathing in, feeling your belly. Breathing out, releasing, softening through the belly. And the body will give you instant feedback. It's nice to let go of tension. A feeling of opening up is very pleasant. So your job is to kind of find an access to that. See how you can experience that within the current situation. A tiny bit of release. Opening, finding some space. And breathing in, feeling your heart, your chest. And breathing out, finding some openness, some space, releasing into it. And breathing in, feeling your shoulders and arms. Breathing out, finding softness. Releasing all this unnecessary tension. Breathing in, feeling your head, your brain. Then breathing out, releasing the head, softening the brain. You follow this feedback as usual. And each time when you release, when you let go of tension, things are opening up. It feels nice. Just a little bit better than before when you were holding. See how far you can take that. Now breathing and feeling the entire body as one unit. Breathing out, softening through the whole body. As if your entire body is becoming more vaporous with each out-breath. More transparent, spacious, less constricted, less tight. As if all the forces that are working on your body, such as gravity, are just passing through. You want to become that open. There's no more collision of an external force with your attention. With the various walls that you've built up over the years, which are supposed to protect you, which are supposed to just kind of keep you safe. Emotionally and physically. There's much fear in the body, much fear in the muscles and cells. Before we can even think about releasing the mind into the space of presence, it'd be very good effort to release the body first. So all the conflict with this moment slowly goes away. Just on the physical level. You will also notice the body is quite stubborn in its habits. So when you're releasing tension somewhere elsewhere, it pops up again. So you can release in waves from the crown of your head all the way down into the seat. Over and over again, going through the whole body, releasing resistance, opening up. I'd like you to train the perception of experiencing your entire body as being made out of breath. Every sensation, every feeling in your body is made of breath. So as you breathe in, you can feel the entire body breathing in. As you breathe out, you can feel the whole body breathing out. And keep in mind not to visualize this or imagine that, but to actually work directly with your feeling. Feeling the entire body breathe in and breathe out. Also ask yourself, how do you need to breathe right now so that it feels really nice? Make your breath really pleasant and enjoyable. Try to see also what it is that actually makes your breath feel nice. So you understand a little bit what you're doing and how you're doing things differently from the normal everyday breathing. Also notice whether you're still breathing through the entire body. Now see if you can breathe into the area that surrounds your body. Just breathing into the space around your body. Let it fill up with breath. And then breathing out from it. In your own time, you can slowly come back. Open your eyes and gently stretch your body a little bit. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see all of you. So as with absolutely every endeavor in our life, it's a good idea to set a specific goal that you want to accomplish. That same thing goes for your meditation practice. Just to sit around for whatever reason doesn't lead you anywhere, because you're not led to a specific point. You're not building a skill. Right? If you want to build a skill, it's very important to understand, first of all, what kind of skill do you want to build, and what are the causes of building that skill. You want to accumulate the causes gradually over time. The skill will be built as a result of accumulating and cultivating the causes. So meditation is the same thing. So you want to build specific skill. For example, say you want to build the 3 basic skills of meditation, which is the skill of ardency, a skill of mindfulness, a skill of alertness. And each one of those qualities depends on their relevant specific causes. If they're not present, it's going to be really, really difficult to get better in anything. What I notice a lot is people set very vague goals. And in the realm of spirituality, it's even worse than in normal everyday endeavors. And then, of course, when you're setting a vague goal, let's say, for example, I'd like to be more present. Couldn't get more vague than that. What does it mean to be more present? How would your life be different if you were more present? What would that mean for you? How would you get up in the morning? First 2-3 minutes after turning off the alarm. So you as a more present being, how would that look like? As opposed to how it looks right now. Would there be a difference? How would you experience those first couple of minutes? How would you get out of bed? How would you walk to the bathroom? How would you do all those things in the bathroom if you were more present? So see, you can make it much more specific. Say, for example, I'd like to bring more presence into the first 5 minutes of my day. Now you have something that you can work towards. It's very concrete. It's not vague at all. And you can work towards it because you can measure it. Like any good goal, you want to know whether you're actually approaching it or not. Like if I say I want to go to Phuket airport, and I just sit into my car and I just turn on the engine and I just go wherever, whatever I just feel like. Right now I'm feeling like I want to go to the right. I'm feeling like my heart tells me to go to the left. Will I end up at Phuket airport? Yeah, no chance. No chance. Like every intelligent person knows that. But somehow when it comes to spirituality, all the intelligence goes out of the window for a lot of people. And it becomes this kind of vague thing. I want to be more present. I just kind of want to feel like I want to feel more enlightened, whatever that means even. Well, very unclear definitions on what is enlightenment or what is awakening or what is presence actually. How do you know whether you're present or not? And in coaching, it happens often that I notice that when people make these vague goals, that once I would tell them what it takes to become, let's say, more present, that then they suddenly would pull back and say, well, wait a second, perhaps that's not really what I actually want. Maybe I don't want to be more present. Say when I say, all right, how do you spend the first 5 minutes of your day? How do you put on your clothes? How do you dry your body after taking a shower? Do you take a shower? How do you brush your teeth? And then once they actually notice, to bring more presence into that, I actually have to stop escaping into thought realms. I have to stop escaping into made up stories about me and my day and my life and how things are going to work out and who am I going to become and whether I'm on the right track or whether I'm not on the right track and what I just dreamed last night and this and that. I have to let go of all that. Actually, to be more present implies that I actually know what I'm doing while I'm doing it. So that goes together with a sacrifice. I have to give up everything that doesn't pertain to what is. I have to connect so intimately with life that all my current escaping mechanisms don't work anymore. I can't visualize, I can't imagine. I actually have to pay attention, and guess what happens when you pay attention to how you're putting on your t-shirt, how you're putting on your pants, how you're drying off your body. You suddenly notice, wow, I'm really irritated. I'm really bored. I want to escape into thought worlds. I actually can't stand presence. I can't stand myself. Previously, it was so much nicer to listen to a podcast, while showering, or, spend the first couple of minutes in my bed thinking of what I'm going to do today. That felt really nice because it pulled me out of myself, even for a little bit. And why would I pull myself out of myself? Because I don't enjoy myself very much. So with more presence, you would then suddenly discover that, oh wow, I'm actually not really enjoying myself at all. It isn't that pleasant as I thought it would be. Instead, you will see what the Buddha declared very clearly as the very first noble truth, which is, there is suffering. There it is. The Buddha also encourages you to look at it, understand it, and then to release it. Not escape it, not fight it, but actually comprehend it. How can you comprehend something if you don't pay attention to it? If you distract yourself away from it? Impossible. But the suffering will still be there and it'll still pull the strings. That it pulls the strings in ways that lead you into distraction, that lead you into overthinking, that lead you into stress and so forth. It doesn't dissolve itself, it perpetuates itself in various ways. So suddenly you rethink your goal of, actually do I want to be more present? It's actually quite a challenge to be present. I'd now have to deal with my boredom. I'd have to deal with being really uncomfortable with myself, so uncomfortable that I can't stand my own presence. Maybe I go back to my podcasts. Maybe I do presence only at some times during the life. Then ask yourself again, why? Why bother? Why cross your legs and close your eyes and focus on your breath and do all those contortions? What for? Do you want to be seen as spiritual? Do you want to be seen as well composed and nice? Is it about appearance? Is that the truth? You have to address that. Because for a lot of people, that is the case. We enter a spiritual path not at all because of the goals that this spiritual path leads to, but because of appearance, prestige, fame, suppression, discomfort, trying to meditate it all away, trying to get rid of all those things that I don't like about myself. But that's not at all what this is about. This is about understanding deeply. Understanding yourself, really. Understanding what is in this moment right now. What am I experiencing actually? What is it for real? And when you understand it deeply enough, you can see through it. And you can find space in it. And then you learn that you can actually relax into that space. And that this is actually nice. So you can find pleasure through your suffering, because you're not avoiding it and you're not fighting it. You're allowing yourself to be transformed by it. But in order for that transformation to take place, you need to open up to it so it can move through you. And as it moves through you, it will hit with all those blocks in your body, with all those little protective mechanisms, that little knots of tension that you're holding your entire life long. It will crash into that. All right, think of meditation as, maybe this simile kind of works. Think of meditation as lighting a fire underneath a huge pot of water. And then the water starts boiling eventually if you sustain the fire. And as the water boils, it begins to evaporate. So steam comes up and it starts to rise up. And it rises up from the lower region of your body and it moves all the way up into the head, let's say, just for the sake of this image. What you want to do is open up the various pipes and gateways in your body so that it can actually leave your body. So what is it that locks or clogs up those pipes? Number one, these are all these old tensions, fears, like emotional stuff, sadness, grief, unprocessed things that have hardened over time because you didn't actually address them. So they harden. They become your muscles. Like all your mental habits, they manifest into your body. They become your physical matter. And so the physical matter is a kind of like a representation of your mind. So that's what we're working with first. By training, for example, to sit still. And then you bring release and openness into that stillness. So you're unclogging those pipes. And as you're unclogging those pipes, the steam rises up and all this old crap that you've been holding on to is now evaporating. It leaves the system gradually. As you keep those pipes open, more and more goes out. Yes. But this process is pretty painful because you have to actually open up to something that you don't want to open up to. Like you have to open up to the first thing that everyone knows that has ever practiced a bit of meditation is physical discomfort. That you notice, the body hurts. The knees hurt, the lower back hurts. Like everything's hurting. And you have to learn to open up to that. And instead of trying to just adjust all the time, and to fidget around all the time, you have to actually see into the feeling that's there. So you can see through it, you can understand it properly, and then release around it, find some space around it mentally. And that feeling can eventually start to dissolve and release. And that's very pleasant. It's a very pleasant process. If you can do this with minor things, let's say you sit down and a fly lands on your cheek and then it moves away and you still feel it. You still feel it there on your cheek.
and it's irritating, and you want to scratch, you want to touch that spot, and you don't. Instead, you bring your mind to that spot, you breathe in, you feel that spot, you really look deeply. It's like you're zooming in with a microscope. You're trying to find the center of that feeling. As you're zooming into that feeling, you will find less and less of a center. You will find less and less of a thing. And before you know it, that feeling is gone. And you haven't scratched it. It's just gone because you're taking away part of the resistance that was at this point previously. You let it go, because that's what it wants to do. It wants to go. The same goes for your thoughts. Your thoughts are arising in your mind. Why? So they can go. Unless you hold them, and you're very interested in them, then they stay. And then they start filling you up more and more because of that holding. A thought liberates itself. It arises and it passes. You don't have to do anything for that to happen. You don't have to fight them away. You don't have to distract yourself. None of that. A thought comes and it goes. So all you need to do here again is just remain open and let that thought pass through. Here would be an example of being clogged up. A clogged up pipe is your interest in thoughts. That's a blockage. You're so interested in the content of your conditioned brain that just brings up all kinds of stuff. Now, because we're so interested in it, we're holding it. It's the interest that holds it. If you have no interest in it, you don't even notice it actually. Thoughts begin to disappear when you have no more interest in them. You've looked through them so often that they lose their appeal. It's a voice in your head. What's the appeal to that? It's like having someone next to you your entire life long that just constantly comments on every single thing you're doing and tells you fictional stories about your future and tells you about your past and shows you pictures and shows you little movies. It's like you could live your life without that commentator. You wouldn't need that commentator to understand that you're having a cup of tea, say. You don't need to say the words cup of tea, I'm having a cup of tea, in your head, so that you just know that you're having a cup of tea, right? Similarly, when you're waking up in the morning, you don't have to repeat your name so you know who you are. Like I don't wake up in the morning and go Tobi, 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 trying to remember who I am, because otherwise I wouldn't know who I am if it wasn't for that four-letter sound, that human grunt that we've developed at some times. Tobi. I am Tobi. And so I just keep talking to myself in my head all day long with these grunts. And I assign a bunch of meaning to it. What's the point? Could I do without it? Perhaps. Could I do with less? Perhaps a little less. How about 1% less? Would you experience that as some sort of relief? 5% less? How about with the skill to only think when you really have to? How would that be? So for the rest of the time when you don't have to think, you can just enjoy the beach, you can just enjoy your dinner, just fall asleep peacefully, not have a million problems in your head, but perhaps just 2 or 3, and then not always, but only sometimes. Wouldn't that be somehow better? Anybody that has some experience with meditation knows that it is pleasant when thoughts are falling away and you're sitting in inner silence. It's wonderful. It's refreshing, it's recharging. It's just pleasant, it just feels good on all levels. It feels good on the level of the body, it feels good on the emotional level, it feels good on the level of the mind. It's a kind of relief. That trend can show you and teach you something. It can show you that, less is more. It's not the more I think, the happier I get. Right? That's not the trend. The trend is actually the other way. It's also not the more stuff you own, the happier you are, right? We all know that. And still we aim for more ownership. We all know that identification is heavy, and yet we constantly identify ourselves with all kinds of things. Irrelevant things. Would I still care whether I am black or white or a man or a woman or whatever in between if I had 10 minutes left to live? Would it still matter? Like I can tell you very clearly about myself, it wouldn't matter at all. Like let alone other people, what their colors and genders and whatever are. It doesn't matter. Because death puts it into perspective. I can suddenly see a bit more clearly, oh, what matters is actually life. And whether I'm holding on to it or whether I'm giving it the freedom it needs to unfold. Thanks. So what you want to do very first thing is to learn to find that joy that comes with releasing, with letting go. It's nice to put stuff down temporarily. I don't want to take it too far, right? I don't want to tell you just let it all go now. But temporarily, let go for, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. Put down your problems. You can pick them up again later. When you realize, that's actually nice. I actually enjoy that. It feels pleasant to let go of tension. Tension in the body, tension in the mind, emotional tension. It's always nice to let it soften away. And because that is nice, it shows me that little trend. My body doesn't lie. It shows you that little trend. That what if you would take that deeper? You would let go more and more. It would get nicer and nicer. Now, if you can do that to some extent, now you want to do it under pressure. So you put yourself under pressure. There's a saying, I don't know if, I think Ram Dass was quoted as having said, if you think you've reached enlightenment, then go and spend time with your family or something like that. Go home or live in the city, or, you get the point. It's like get out of your little comfort bubble where you feel totally blissed out and enlightened and all that, and then put it to the test, basically. Like, are you actually enlightened? Are you actually light in the sense of not heavy? Or do you still have a tendency to contract and to become fearful? Your body will tell you. But it's very easy to delude ourselves with all kinds of ideas. Like, I've attained a profound meditative state. I'm an expert meditator. Okay, cool, that's nice if you think that. But thinking it is one thing. It's actually pretty easy to think that. But the proof is in the pudding. What about your nervous system? Has it changed? It should have. Like, your nervous system should have changed substantially from being a non-meditator to a meditator. So you're simply not contracting anymore when suffering comes your way. You stay open. So it can move right through you the way it needs to. So you can process it really nicely like that. It isn't stuck anywhere. So like every little bit of discomfort and suffering turns into a valuable learning experience about where you're at on the path. So you set your goal, you measure your progress towards it, right? Remember we started the talk off with setting a goal and then moving towards it, measuring your progress. In meditation and spiritual practice, that's the way you do it. The goal is to release. And how do you measure your release? Well, you measure it by the amount of stress that you are able to release. Like, what is it stressing you out right now? Is it Phuket traffic? Is it your work? Is it your family members? Is it yourself? And how do you feel and experience that stress? I guarantee you it'll be some sort of holding. Can you bring release into that? Does it ease the situation? Does it make it better for you right here, right now? It's very practical. That's the question. And that's our training ground, our life's stresses that come to us. You don't have to do much to be stressed by life. Life does that for us. Like at best, all you have to do is just sit still and stress will come to you just automatically. Then release through that. Sit for longer periods. Sit still, release through that. And when bad news hit you, stop, release. Then perhaps respond. Instead of just immediately going into fight or flight, do you have a bit of a gap where you let go first? So that's how you measure your skill. And then you can make it really specific. Like, how released are you in the first 5 minutes of your day? And then you bring some stress into it. Wake up more early. Still released. Take a different alarm. Like one of those nasty alarms that go, make it really loud. So it starts. Is your first response relax? Release? Open up or not? You can play with all kinds of things, right? If you want to eat chocolate, don't eat the chocolate. Even though you really want to, don't do it. Oh, it's tense. Release right there. You really want to have dinner, don't have it. Just play like this. You know, I'm not telling you torture yourself. Only torture yourself if you know you can find release through it. If it is right at the edge of your comfort zone where you grow through it, then do it. If it's beyond your pay grade, if you're going too far out of your comfort zone, you will be crushed by it. You can't handle it. It's not good to bring your practice into things you can't handle, because you're teaching yourself and your nervous system that you're a failure. And that's very often the real reason why people actually do too much, to prove to themselves that they fail, right? So that's an unhealthy pattern. You need to look through it, and then maybe it is really uncomfortable for you to do much less. So here's your challenge. Like, oh, by doing much less, I feel like really bad. I could do so much more though. Like, I could do 10 push-ups, but instead I just do 1. Makes me feel very weak. Great. Can I bring release into that? And do just 1 push-up. Then an hour later, another 1. For example, these are all just examples. The cold shower, ice baths. There's plenty of ways to play. The gym is a great playground as well. Exercise, work tasks, your boss, if you don't like your boss, if you have a boss. You know, there's so many ways to own your skill and to make it very powerful. And it's all the same skill all the time. It's the skill of seeing clearly what's going on, seeing right through it, and releasing into the arising space. Finding comfort and pleasure in it. It's very real. It's very concrete skill to have. Yes. All right. So that's all that comes to mind for today. Are there any questions?